It was supposed to be a celebration, grilled steaks, laughter, wine. But then my uncle stood up, raised a glass, and said, "We've decided you'll cover Trevor's debt, or you're out." They all clapped. Like it was normal. Like betrayal was family tradition. But I didn't clap. I smiled back, and walked to the TV with a USB drive. The lake shimmered in the late afternoon light, quiet and golden, as if trying to preserve the peace just a moment longer. A breeze moved through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, children's laughter rang like the echo of a better time. Eli pulled up to the house, pie balanced on the passenger seat, nerves churning in his chest. He hadn't planned to come. He'd made every excuse not to. But guilt has a way of prying open doors you thought you'd locked for good. The old lake house stood there like it always had, weathered but proud, its porch strung with fading lights, creaky chairs lined up like they were still waiting for the same people from 10 summers ago. As he stepped out of the car, the air felt thicker, like it remembered things he didn't want to. He walked through the front door to a room full of laughter and smiles that came too quickly. Rachel rushed over with an embrace a little too tight. Aunt Margie commented on the pie before even glancing at it. Everyone seemed fine. Perfectly, performatively fine. But Trevor wasn't laughing. He was seated in the corner, shoulders hunched, drink in hand, staring at nothing. The cousin who used to dominate every room with his voice now looked like a stranger trying to disappear. Eli hadn't seen him since the funeral. And even then, Trevor had left before the service ended, slipping out without a word. Now, he wouldn't meet Eli's eyes. Eli moved toward the window, pretending to admire the lake, though his reflection stared back at him, tired, unsure, older than he remembered being. This was supposed to be a reunion. A place for healing. But silence, thick and unyielding, had settled in every corner of the room. Sometimes, the loudest thing between family isn't what's said. It's everything they never dared to speak. Dinner had always been the anchor of these family gatherings. A long table, mismatched chairs, too many dishes passed back and forth, and stories that looped and overlapped like tangled string. For a moment, it almost felt normal. Eli let himself breathe. The clinking of a glass brought the room to a hush. Uncle Roy stood, chest puffed with self-importance, a wine glass held like a gavel. "Family," he declared, pausing for dramatic effect. "We had a vote." Laughter rippled down the table. Eli smiled faintly, not understanding. "You," Roy pointed directly at him, "will take care of Trevor's debt." The smile faltered. "Or," he added, raising his glass higher, "you're out of the family." Applause. Laughter. Someone even whistled. Eli didn't move. His fork hovered midair, the roast growing cold on his plate. Was this a joke? His eyes darted to Clara. His sister offered a small, sad smile, like she was bracing for a wave he hadn't seen coming. "It's for the best," she said softly. "You can afford it." Their mother didn't speak. Just nodded once, eyes lowered, like this had already been decided long ago. Eli felt the heat rise in his chest, not from anger at first, but from confusion. From betrayal in a language only families speak. He opened his mouth, but the words tangled. Trevor still wouldn't look at him. The room buzzed with conversation again, as if nothing had happened. Plates scraped. Wine poured. And in the middle of it all, Eli sat like a man quietly drowning in a sea of people who claimed to love him. Funny how silence can be louder than thunder when it comes from the people you thought knew your heart. The applause fades, but the pressure hangs in the air like humidity before a storm. Eli clears his throat. "No one asked me," he says, voice steadier than he feels. "You just decided." The mood shifts. Not in his favor. It's not about the money, Aunt Lisa jumps in, smiling, but her voice is razor thin. It's about family. You've always been the one we could count on. You don't have kids. You're doing well. You owe us. The word lodges in his chest like a splinter. Around the table, eyes avoid his. Or worse, meet his with silent expectation, like he's the selfish one for hesitating. Flashbacks flicker across Eli's memory like an old projector. Clara's emergency surgery. He paid. Cousin Ava's college tuition. He covered it. Uncle Roy's mortgage, 3 months late. He bailed them out. And every time, the same lines wrapped the ask like a gift. We love you, Eli. Only you can help. You're the strong one. It's what family does. He thought he was giving out of love. Now it feels like a transaction. A pattern. And this dinner, this ambush, feels like the invoice. His hand trembles slightly under the table. Not from fear. From grief. You say it's about family, Eli says softly, but it feels more like I'm just the insurance policy. No one answers. Their silence doesn't deny it. If anything, it confirms it. And Aunt Lisa, still smiling, just says, "Come on, sweetheart. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." That smile, sweet, warm, practiced, feels like a lock clicking shut around his heart. 3 weeks before the dinner, Eli stopped for gas just outside Albany. It was late, cold. He was wiping down his windshield when he heard laughter from the next pump over, familiar voices. "Trevor." "Nick." He froze. "You think he'll fall for it?" Nick's voice, sharp with amusement. Trevor chuckled. "He always does. Just make it about family. Duty. Guilt. Works every time." Laughter. The world stopped for a second. Eli didn't move, just stood there with the squeegee in hand, staring at his reflection in the glass. His own face, a stranger. That night, something shifted. He didn't go home. He sat in his car for hours, piecing things together. Every favor. Every guilt trip. Every sacrifice wrapped in affection. And the next morning, he started digging. He called an old friend in finance. Another who worked in state records. Each thread unraveled something deeper. Accounts opened in Trevor's name, money funneled through sketchy channels. What began as a simple ask to cover a bad streak was a lie hiding something bigger. This wasn't just debt. It was manipulation. A long con. With Eli as the mark. And they dressed it in Sunday smiles and toasts. For the first time in years, Eli didn't feel guilty. He felt awake. And beneath the sorrow, something else stirred, something colder. Determination. They wanted him to feel like it was love. Like he owed them. But Eli had seen behind the curtain now. And the curtain was rotting. Back in the living room, the air is thick. No one speaks, but the pressure is deafening. Eli doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't shout. He just stands up quietly, walks to the TV, and pulls a small USB from his coat pocket. Every step echoes. Clara rolls her eyes. "Oh, come on. You're making this dramatic." Trevor lets out a sarcastic chuckle. "What is this, a presentation?" No response. Eli plugs in the USB. The screen lights up. At first, there's just static. Then, grainy video footage. A basement poker game. Trevor, laughed, taking a thick envelope from a man whose face is instantly recognizable. A known scam artist from local news. Silence. Then another clip. Trevor again, exchanging something under the table. A timestamp. A location. Then the audio. Him whispering, "Don't tell my uncle." He still thinks this is about rent. Someone gasps. Next slide, scans of bank records. Not just Trevor's, but their father's. Multiple transfers. Offshore accounts. A spreadsheet detailing names, dates, and amounts. And finally, text messages between the family accountant and Trevor. "I modified the docs. Don't worry." Eli's too soft to ask questions. The room is frozen. No one breathes. Eli turns around slowly. His face is calm. Tired. He didn't just lose money, Eli says quietly. He laundered it. You all didn't want help. You wanted silence. And in that moment, the house, once filled with laughter and forced cheer, feels like it's caving in on itself. No one claps now. No toasts. Just the sound of reality cracking. The room doesn't erupt. It implodes. No one speaks. Forks hover midair. Glasses of red wine remain untouched, trembling slightly in hands that no longer know what to do. Eli stands alone, and yet, for the first time, he's not the one hiding. You wanted the truth? His voice is almost a whisper, yet it slices through the silence like shattered glass. There it is. His aunt gasps, hand flying to her chest. Uncle Roy stammers, trying to regain control. That's enough, Eli. But Eli cuts him off. Come, certain. You didn't vote to help Trevor. You voted to protect him. To protect yourselves. You thought I'd pay to keep things quiet. He looks at each of them, people he once trusted to raise him, guide him, love him. Their eyes won't meet his now. You didn't just lie to me, he continues, softer. You made me believe I owed you something because I made it out. And that's when the real explosion happens, not in noise, but in understanding. His mother's tears fall, not for Trevor, not out of shame, but because she knew. She knew all along. And saying nothing felt easier than facing this day. She covers her face. I thought, if he could just get back on his feet. Eli doesn't flinch. You sold my silence for your comfort. The truth has weight, and now it has fallen like a stone in the center of the room. Clara looks away. Nick walks out. And Eli? He doesn't yell. Doesn't storm off. He just breathes, deep and steady, like someone who has finally put down something heavy he was never meant to carry. The silence doesn't last. Trevor snaps first, his voice sharp, defensive, trembling with desperation. This is ridiculous. You act like it's some kind of crime. Everyone does shady stuff. His words echo hollow and misplaced. Eli turns to him, not with anger, but with something colder, disbelief. That's your excuse? He says, slowly. Everyone. Trevor looks around, searching for someone to back him. But no one moves. No one speaks. The cracks that began in silence now spread like veins through glass. Aunt Lisa suddenly wipes her eyes. I didn't know it was that bad, she murmurs. I thought you just needed help. Uncle Roy doesn't speak. Just lowers his glass and walks to the hallway like a man walking away from something already burning. Clara stands frozen, then meets Eli's eyes. I'm sorry, she says, voice breaking. You didn't deserve that. It's the most honest thing she's said all night. But Eli? He doesn't respond. Not with words. He takes one long breath, then turns and walks, past the dining table, past their half-finished wine, past every memory of birthday cakes and holiday fights in that house. No guilt trails him this time. No invisible leash tugging him back with whispers of family loyalty or emotional debt. Just his footsteps, firm, steady, free. And as the door closes behind him, no one follows. Because they all know, the person they used to lean on is no longer willing to carry what was never his. Weeks go by. No phone calls. No messages. No explanations wrapped in guilt or half-hearted apologies. The silence is deafening at first. An echo of absence where noise used to live. But then, something shifts. The silence becomes gentle. Mornings stretch longer now. Eli wakes without a knot in his chest. No calendar alerts reminding him of someone else's crisis. No unread texts tugging at the edge of his peace. He starts painting again, old brushes resurrected from a dusty drawer. The first strokes are hesitant, like his hands forgot how to breathe. But slowly, colors begin to speak what words couldn't. In therapy, he uncovers parts of himself buried beneath years of emotional labor. There are wounds, but there is also space. Space to feel. Space to heal. He adopts a dog, a rescued mutt with mismatched ears and eyes that trust too easily. They sit together on quiet afternoons, watching leaves fall, and Eli realizes something startling. This silence isn't emptiness. It's freedom. No one is draining him. No one is demanding he carry weight that doesn't belong to him. He is, for the first time, enough just as he is, not because he's useful or giving or available. Just because. And maybe, just maybe, this peace was waiting for him all along, on the other side of letting go. It's late. The kind of quiet that wraps around the world like a blanket. Eli is rinsing his paintbrushes when he hears it, a soft knock at the door. Not urgent. Not angry. Just hesitant. He opens it. There she is. His mother. Holding a worn-out casserole dish in trembling hands, mascara smudged under her tired eyes. They stand in silence. No rehearsed apologies. No carefully packaged excuses. She just lifts the dish slightly and offers a tired smile. Still your favorite, she says, voice barely above a whisper. Eli steps aside. She walks in slowly, like every step costs her a year. She doesn't sit. Doesn't ask for coffee. Doesn't ask for money. She reaches into her coat pocket and pulls out a small envelope, creased, yellowing at the edges. He wrote this when things started falling apart, she says, eyes refusing to meet his. He never sent it. Said, if he couldn't find his way back to you, I should give it to you. She places it on the counter. Her fingers linger a second too long. Then she turns, walks to the door and pauses. I was wrong, she says. Not about the money. Not about the silence. About something deeper. We didn't just fail you. We expected you to keep saving us. And just like that, she's gone. Eli stares at the envelope. Inside is not a clean slate. Not redemption. Not even closure. Just words. Scrawled in Trevor's handwriting, uneven and shaky. I didn't know how to love you without needing something. Eli sits alone at the kitchen table. The casserole untouched, the dog curled at his feet. The envelope trembles in his hand like it has a pulse of its own. Inside, not Trevor's handwriting. It's his father's. Not Uncle Roy. Not any of them. His real father. The one who disappeared after teaching him how to fix a faucet, how to change a tire, how to survive, but never how to feel. Eli unfolds the letter. The paper is worn at the creases, ink bleeding faintly into age. If you're reading this, I've lost control. Finn. I don't know where I am when this reaches you, or if I still exist in any way that matters. You owe me nothing. But I owe you the truth. Eli's breath catches. He keeps reading. I gave you tools. But not warmth. I gave you plans. But never a place to rest. I thought I was making you strong. I see now, I was just making you carry the weight I couldn't. There's no excuse. No request. Just truth. Laid bare. The final lines are scribbled, ink uneven, written in a rush, maybe fear, maybe regret. If this ends with me, let it. Don't carry it forward. Don't become me. Be free, Eli. Be you. Eli folds the letter slowly. His hands are shaking. But inside him, something has finally stilled. For the first time in his life, he doesn't feel like a vessel for everyone else's needs. And maybe, just maybe, the hospital is quiet. White walls. Slow beeps. The kind of silence that holds its breath. Eli stands at the doorway, watching a man he barely knows anymore. His father, curled in a hospital bed. Smaller than Eli remembers. No longer the force that loomed over his childhood. Just a man. Fragile. Mortal. He doesn't speak at first. Neither does his father. But there's no tension. No expectations. Just presence. For once, that's enough. Then, a shuffle in the hallway. Trevor. Hollow. Less defiant than before. He walks in with slow steps, avoiding Eli's eyes. I thought you hated me, Eli says flatly. Trevor shrugs, then pulls a flash drive from his pocket. You should know. I wasn't the only one. Eli frowns. Takes the drive. It was Roy. The whole thing. The vote, the pressure. He was in deep, really deep. Bad investments, shady partnerships. He needed someone to take the fall. I was the easiest one to use. I let him. His voice cracks on that last part. Eli plugs the drive into his laptop in the hospital waiting room. The footage is grainy, but unmistakable. Uncle Roy, stuffing cash into Trevor's hand, whispering, keep the story straight. He's family. He won't say no. Eli exhales, long and slow. It wasn't about debt. Or duty. It was control. A legacy of silence passed from one generation to the next. He looks up through the glass into his father's room. That chain of secrets, manipulation, shame, it ends here. The old family house still smells like cinnamon and dust. Eli stands on the porch, the USB in his palm. He hesitates, but not because he's unsure. Just remembering. The laughter that once echoed here. The shadows that always followed it. He steps inside. No fanfare. Just Uncle Roy, seated at the kitchen table, hunched over a stack of papers he'll probably never sort through. Eli places the USB on the table. Steady. I'm not here to argue, he says, voice quiet but firm. I'm not even angry anymore. Roy looks up, worn, ashamed, smaller than Eli remembered. I just want you to live with what you did, not hide behind it. That's all. And with that, Eli turns and walks out. No yelling. No grand gestures. Just a door closing, soft, final. 3 months pass. A message appears one morning. His cousin Mira. Voice trembling, words laced with guilt and clarity. We were cowards, Eli. We let him turn love into a leash. But what you did, your courage, it shook us. It made us see what we became. Eli listens in silence. Then smiles. His life now is quiet, uneven, beautiful in its imperfections. He paints. He walks his dog in the mornings. Some days are heavy. Others feel weightless. But none are lived for anyone else. There are no more roles to play. No more scripts written by others. Just Eli. Finally, freely, himself. Sometimes the most radical act of love is choosing your own peace. Family isn't built on guilt or debt. It's built on respect. And if you have to destroy the illusion to find freedom, so be it. Because truth doesn't tear families apart. It reveals what was already broken. If you've ever been pressured by your family to be more than just yourself, more useful, more generous, more silent, share your story in the comments. And if this story hit close to home, don't forget to like, subscribe, and pass it on. Someone out there needs to hear they're not alone.